As a cleric of the domain of war, the worshippers of Tyr studied the art of battle from an early age. You are not trained with the sword, however, until such a time that you have proved your worthiness to wield it in Tyr's name. As a student, you struggled to learn the simplest of incantations, and the clergy worried over your unrestrained temper. Brought to them at an early age after your mother was murdered by your father's own hands. You picked up a sword for the first time much later than your peers. They were already training a whole year before you. The priests always said your time would come, but they did not understand. Cowards and hypocrites. Evil was out there, all around them, and if they would not bring it to heel, you would. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So, quick disclaimer first, as always, this is a concept first and optimized second style build, building around a concept rather than the best possible damage. This build looks like it should be a heap of fun to play though, and I hope you enjoy it. If you want to hang around to the end, I will quickly run through the changes I would make to make the build a bit more optimized. If that's all you're after, check the timestamps and let's get into the build level by level. Okay, so character creation. Now, our Holy Crusader of Justice has a darker past than most, having a murder in the family and potentially even be something worse in your background. I feel like this is required in order to create a character that is hell-bent on vengeance, with a black and white view of the world, and I'm going to leave it at that for YouTube's sake, but I will add a few scars to the character's face and you guys can do the rest. You've probably noticed by now that we are going half-orc for this character, and there are a few reasons for that. Firstly, half-orcs get dark vision, which is a really great start, but they also get relentless endurance, which keeps them from getting downed when they hit 0 hit points once per long rest. Finally, they get savage attacks, giving them an additional damage die when they score a critical hit. This final feature is something you can really lean into if you want to, with a weapon like a great axe, which deals 1d12 in damage, getting an additional d12 when you score a critical hit, versus a great sword that is a 2d6, so you only gain a single d6 when you critically hit. I'll leave this up to you. Next, we have our class, and as we recently walked away from the Temple of Tyr to pursue justice, we are still a cleric, and maybe at best an untrained fighter. We struggled with the teachings of Tyr though, and latched onto the only part of the doctrine that we understood and resonated with: justice. However, I think what we truly sought was vengeance. So as we leave the temple of hypocrites and fools behind and stride towards our future, we get 3 cantrips. And I think our main form of dialogue interactions will be through intimidation. So thaumaturgy is a no-brainer. Next, resistance, giving us a bonus to saving throws. And finally, blade ward for a bit more survivability in early levels. Next, we get to choose a domain, and we are going with the War domain, giving us 2 spells: Shield of Faith, increasing our AC by 2, and Divine Favor, allowing us to do bonus radiant damage on our attacks for a few turns. Finally, the main feature of the War domain, as far as we are concerned, is aptly named the War Priest ability, giving us 3 charges per long rest that we can use to make an extra attack with our main hand weapon as a bonus action. This will be very handy to tide us over till we get to the extra attack feature later in the build. So our deity, if it wasn't already obvious, is Tyr, god of law and justice, encouraging valiant acts and relentlessly pursuing oathbreakers. For our background, I really like soldier here, although half-orcs do already gain proficiency in intimidation as a racial perk, so it might be better to go with acolyte, gaining 2 different proficiencies here. I like soldier better, so that's what I'm going with. For our ability scores, we are a melee combatant, and so we are going with strength 14 plus 2 for 16, dexterity 14, constitution 15 plus 1 for 16, intelligence 8, wisdom and charisma 10. We don't really have any saving throws to hit with this build, so there's no need to stress too much about wisdom and charisma as long as they aren't sitting in the negative. For proficiencies, we've actually done pretty well in terms of negative rolls, with only the int skills being in -1, provided we choose religion and insight here. I will also note that as a cleric, you do have full simple and martial weapon proficiency and heavy armor proficiency, so feel free to use whatever you come across at early levels. Finally, for this mammoth of a character creation, we get a single prepared Cleric spell, and I really like protection from evil and good here, giving you a little buff to use against various enemies you come up against, causing them to have disadvantage on their attacks against you and being immune to charmed and fear effects by them. Okay, character creation done, fight your way off the ship and on to level 2. Okay, level 2, and I will just say, before you finish your escapades on the Nautiloid, if you can, it would pay to take out Commander Zulk, for thematic and two-handed greatsword reasons. So, once you escape the ship though, you are back on solid ground, and you realize you need to put in the time to learn how to properly fight. You learned the basics during your final months at the temple, however, you work with Lae'zel to learn better swordsmanship, and she makes no effort to hide how pathetic she finds you to be. Your rage simmers beneath the surface, but you control it and let it fuel you. Second level in Cleric here, just to grab the amazing Guided Strike ability. This triggers when an attack would otherwise miss, and gives us a chance to add plus 10 to the attack roll. We only get to do this once per short rest though, so use it wisely. On to level 3, and I think something happens here. Depending on where you are when you level, or where the main campaign is at, but something sets your heart aflame. Your fury awakens anew as you see the wrongness of the world, the injustice. You clench your fist on your sword and raise it aloft, swearing an oath of vengeance. And your god answers. And so, we are switching it up and taking Paladin levels now. So all Paladins get access to the Lay on Hands feature. This is 3 effects in 1. It costs Lay on Hands charges to use, and we have 3 per long rest at this level. For 2 charges we can use Greater Healing, healing for the greatest amount. Lesser Healing, doing half the healing for a single charge. And finally, Cure, removing all disease and poison effects from the target. All Paladins also get Divine Sense. You probably won't find yourself using this much, but it gives you advantage on attacks against Celestials, Fiends, and Undead. Finally, we get to choose our oath, and of course we are taking the Oath of Vengeance, swearing the tenets. Fight the greater evil, exerting your wisdom, identify the higher morality in any given instance, and fight for it. No mercy for the wicked. Chasten those who dole out their villainy by wiping their blight from the world forever. We also gain the Oath of Vengeance ability, Inquisitor's Might, granting us or an ally 2 extra radiant damage and the Daze effect on our attacks for 2 turns. This costs a Channel Oath charge, and we only have 1 at this level. It returns on a short rest. Level 4, and we are a Paladin 2. We gain the well-known and well-loved Divine Smite, just in time for the level 2 spell slots we gain on this level, letting us add 2d8 additional radiant damage on an attack. We also gain 2 reactions for Divine Smite, one for a critical hit and the other for normal damage. Don't forget to look in your reactions and decide what you want turned on and off. Those 2 level 2 spell slots will add an additional d8 to the damage of Divine Smite, so try to hold on to them for higher damage smites. We also gain a fighting style, and we are taking the Great Weapon fighting style here, letting us reroll any 1s or 2s we roll for damage while wielding a 2-handed weapon. Then we get Paladin spells, and I would probably prepare Bless and Heroism here, but they are interchangeable, so just use whatever the situation calls for. On level 5, we are a Paladin 3, and we get Divine Health, making us immune to diseases. Cool, I guess. But we also gain our Oath abilities, Abjure Enemy and Vow of Enmity. The former letting you frighten an enemy at range, freezing them in place for 3 turns. The latter giving you advantage on attack rolls against an enemy for 10 turns. This costs a bonus action instead of an action too, so this is a great effect to use prior to attacking in combat. Finally, we get 2 Oath spells. Bane, giving enemies a d4, minus d4 on saving throws and attack rolls. And Hunter's Mark, letting us deal an additional 1d6 slashing damage on our attacks against a target. I would really try to make use of all of these abilities now, Hunter's Mark and Vow of Enmity especially. Level 6 and we get another Oath charge on this level, letting us use Vow of Enmity twice now per short rest. We also get a feat, and we have to decide here between Great Weapon Master and increasing our strength. There are ways to bump your stats during the campaign, but they are not options for us due to our oath, so this is a tough choice. I would probably take the risk with Great Weapon Master here, and try to find some armor or weapons that boost your hit chance to compensate. Okay, halftime, and of course, like a few of my builds, you may have noticed that we have deviated from the short I made pre-launch once again. As you all know, we didn't have access to everything pre-launch, and it did make it very difficult to predict what would make it into the game and how it would be implemented. So we have changed from a dual wield build. I'm sorry if that disappoints anybody, and we are now a two-handed weapon build. This could work really well with just about any two-handed weapon. However, I don't think shield and spear would be a bad choice either, giving you a slightly higher armor class, albeit lower damage due to no Great Weapon Master. If you take that route, I definitely recommend taking the dueling fighting style, as currently if you have a versatile weapon in your main hand and a shield in your offhand, the +2 bonus does still apply, regardless of the wording on the ability. I also wanted to make this build a bit more unique when compared to the Walking Death build on the channel, which is linked above. Check out that one too if you're looking for a dual wield melee combatant. Next, I want to talk about Oathbreaker, the 4th subclass choice for paladins. There is a point in this character's story, it's not too far away, but I don't want to spoil it just yet, that would be the perfect opportunity for you to break your oath and embrace the dark side. If you do this, you do retroactively get all the skills and abilities from Oathbreaker. However, we never reach Paladin 7 in this build, so you will miss out on the infamous Aura of Hate. So it may put an undead army off the table for you. Either way, I think it will make a great story arc and potential fall from grace. We will be holding on to our oath though, however zealous that we become. Lastly, let's go over some gear, and like I mentioned on level 6, I think we definitely need to prioritize weapons and armor that increase our chance to hit. And for weapons, this means your first priority is a weapon enhancement +1 or maybe +2 at early levels if you can find one. Sword of Justice is a really good early +1 greatsword. You can get that if you help out Karlach. Advantage is also a fantastic option to increase our hit chance, and Gloves of the Growling Underdog or utilizing the second effect on the Sparkle Hands is a great way to get it. This could combo really well with the Sparky Points actually, as lightning charges grant you +1 to attack rolls and bonus lightning damage. UNT Scale Mail, Adamantine Scale Mail, and Luminous Armor are all great options. If you take the mountain route in Act 2, the Gloves of Dexterity will make UNT even more valuable because of the exotic material trait, allowing the bonus to AC to go above +2. If you choose to take the Luminous Armor approach, the Luminous Gloves in Act 2 might prove to be a good pickup, debuffing your enemies. Okay, halftime over and back to the build. Level 7 and we are feeling our blessing from Tyr growing stronger and manifesting in new and more potent ways. Our God approves of our actions, of our pursuit of justice, warding off blows against us in battle. We are less strained in combat, making it easier for us to attack more furiously, and the light grows as we have found a way to release it, purging away our enemies as we are going to do something that I hate to suggest, but must. Respec. Okay, so there is a bit of an annoying quirk that we run into when it comes to the interactions between the War Domain and Extra Attack. So at present, the bonus action charges that are granted by War Priest are currently being prioritized over the Extra Attack from the Extra Attack feature. So to explain, you attack once, then you are forced to do your bonus action attack with a War Priest charge. Then you get to do your Extra Attack. This is a really strange order, and I'm not sure why it's like this. However, it is consuming our bonus action every turn when maybe we don't want it to, and so I would respec my Cleric domain here. Everything else stays the same as we change to the Light domain, fulfilling the core concept, almost better at this point, burning away the darkness with holy light. We have had some great levels using our War Priest bonus attacks, and I think it's time to move on. So, Light Clerics. The two great features we are swapping to is Warding Flare, which for our reaction imposes disadvantage on an enemy attacking you. There is no limit to the number of uses for this, only once per turn however. Second, we get Radiance of the Dawn, dealing 2d10 radiant damage plus our character level in a 9 meter AoE around us. So this scales with us and not our cleric levels, maxing out as 2d10 plus 12, which is fantastic. It does require a save, however, enemies still take half damage on a save, so there's no wasted usage here. Next we go to our actual level 7, which we are picking up Paladin 5, getting the amazing extra attack and level 2 spells. I would definitely pick up Aid here and use it as soon as you finish a long rest. There are no other standouts here, and you do want to save those remaining 2 level 2 spell slots for Smite. We do get Misty Step here though, and Hold Person for being Avenging's Paladin, so keep an eye on those and use them when appropriate. Emboldened by our god's approval, our suppressed rage has begun to bubble to the surface again, as you struggle to hold it back while you fight. Furious at the world itself, we are taking Barbarian levels now. So as a Barbarian 1, we of course get Rage, giving us +2 on our attacks while enraged and reducing all physical damage by 50%. So Rage, Rage, Rage. This skill is amazing, but it also blocks our ability to cast spells and cancels any concentration effects we might be currently using. This does limit our actions while raging, but we are not completely out of options. We are still able to use many of our abilities while in rage. Divine Smite, Abjure Enemy, Vow of Enmity, Inquisitor's Might, Divine Sense, Lay on Hands, Turn Undead, and your weapon abilities are all still usable. We also gain the Unarmored Defense passive, which we will not be using. You may have noticed I recommended medium armor before halftime. And even though you are proficient in heavy, as a barbarian, your rage features do not apply if you are using heavy armor. Therefore, if you have been sporting any heavy up to this point, now's the time to swap it out. Barbarian 2, and we get Danger Sense here, giving us advantage on dexterity saving throws against traps, spells, and surfaces. We also get Reckless Attack here. Now, if you have been getting the gear I recommended, you should have pretty consistent advantage at this point between your glove choice, Vow of Enmity, and potentially even Fairy Fire, which we got for switching to the Light Domain. However, if you are struggling for whatever reason, this is your amazing backup plan. Use it every turn if you need a source of advantage, provided it won't mean you dying, as it not only gives you advantage, it also gives your enemies advantage against you until your next turn. Level 10, and we have reached absolute boiling point. The world no longer has any shades of grey. You are justice, furious and unforgiving. You show no mercy to those who wrong others, and you teach by the sword. As we take our primal path on this level, we are taking Berserker. Now Berserker, this subclass changes our rage ability into Frenzy. This is a vastly superior rage, maintaining the damage reduction and bonus damage while also granting us the Frenzied Strike and Enraged Throw actions. Frenzied Strike lets us use our bonus action to make another attack with our weapon. This is fantastic, however it comes with a cost. Every time we use this ability, we get a stack of Frenzied Strain, reducing our chance to hit by -1 and stacking until our range ends. This is the other main reason we wanted to stack our hit chance and get advantage. Second, Enraged Throw, which suffers from the same debuff as Frenzied Strike. However, it is a very versatile ability. It allows us to pick up an object or creature and throw it at another target, knocking them prone. The damage of this ability is based on the weight of the object thrown, plus our strength mod, plus our rage bonus damage. Higher strength allows us to throw heavier objects. For reference, with 20 strength, we are able to pick up 80 kilograms. A human is considered to be 75 kilograms, so if we can get there, we could hurl them with this ability, repositioning them and damaging them in the same bonus action. Level 11, and this is a quick and easy one, only getting a feat here, and we are 100% increasing our strength here. This increases our chance to hit and damage rolls by +1, increasing the time we can stay frenzied. It also increases the weight of things we can throw around. Finally, level 12, and this level is entirely up to you. Take a single level dip into fighter maybe for a fighting style, or take another level in cleric, getting level 3 spell slots for smite, spiritual weapon, and warding bond. All great spells that you can use prior to raging without them disappearing. I leave this in your hands. And that's a wrap. I really like the story of the one who was blessed by their god and pursued the path set before them, their own interpretation of what their god desired of them. The god continued to bestow blessings, hoping to push them on the right path, and so the mortal continued to commit acts in their god's name, not understanding their folly, until the moment came for them to be in desperate need, and their god has left them. Appalled by their cruelty, justice is never black and white. It always falls in shades of grey. And as the mortal falls and reaches the afterlife, they ask their god, "Why did you forsake me?" Okay, so can we make this build a bit more optimized? Honestly, in keeping with the heart of this build, not really. We have already taken steps to make it a bit more efficient by respecking. Personally, if I was playing this build, I would consider going Paladin 8 and Barbarian 4, gaining another feat, Aura of Protection, and extra attacks sooner. This would mean some investment in Charisma though, as Aura of Protection is based on your Charisma score. I would go 16, 10, 14, 8, 10, 16. Use heavy armor until I could get my hands on gloves of dexterity, then getting UNT Scale Mail in Act 2. The additional feat would probably be +2 to strength unless I could make use of Polearm Master. Going this route also makes Berserker a bit less vital, unless I'm planning on throwing the polearm, so I would probably go with Wild Heart instead, taking Elk Heart for Primal Stampede or Wolf Heart for the free advantage. Just from the editing room here, and I do want to point out a few interactions that could be really great. So firstly, the Polearm Master and Sentinel feats interact really well together, if you're willing to sacrifice some damage, that is. So basically what these do is Polearm Master allows you to do an attack of opportunity if someone walks close to you or walks within your range. And then the Sentinel feat allows you to do that attack of opportunity at advantage. And when you attack of opportunity someone with the Sentinel feat, it also stops them from moving. So if they're a melee character and they don't have a reach weapon, effectively they would be stuck outside of their own attack range and they'd be unable to attack you. This could be really potent as a defensive option, again, if you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of damage. Next is a Tavern Brawler feat, and this allows you to increase your strength stat by 1 and add your strength modifier twice to thrown weapon damage and attack rolls, which is pretty great. Pair this with the Ring of Flinging, the Gloves of Uninhibited Kushigo, Enraged Throw, and Returning Pike, and you get a pretty scary thrown weapon combo. I hope you enjoyed the build this week though, and as always, thanks so much for watching to the end. I hope you are looking forward to the next build. It might be a modded guide actually. Let me know in the comments if you would like a video running through how to set up mods in Baldur's Gate 3, and I'll see what I can do. Until next time though, see ya!